Thank you for joining me this evening. With me tonight is our City Administrator, Tony Restaino. And tonight we'd like to go on the record and talk about the lawsuits. Right now, as you know, we're in the thick of an election campaign for re-election to the position of mayor. And rather than to have all of the rhetoric out there pertaining to lawsuits over the last 3.5 years, the City Administrator and myself have decided to talk on the lawsuits, on the record, the real facts, so that the public has an idea what they're about, the circumstances surrounding the lawsuits, and the impact it has on the community. And you'll be surprised when you listen to the real facts what the impact is on the community. And I'd like to welcome, like I said initially with me, our City Administrator, Tony Restaino. Tony, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you, Mayor, and it's a real pleasure to be here. And as the Mayor indicated, it's a real pleasure to have the opportunity to come on and discuss this very, very important subject. It's been an issue that's been raised and been talked about by a number of our opponents, and we feel that this is an appropriate way to get the message out to all of you in the viewing public about these various lawsuits.
As you know, to begin with, back in 1997, in a sense, we privatized and contracted with Modern both to pick up our garbage, help us pick up our bulk, and also recycling. And actually a lawsuit stemmed from that. And now I'm going to have the City Administrator explain some of the circumstances and the particulars pertaining to that lawsuit and the actual resolve, in a sense, the cost to the city, the impact to the city. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to see what it's really, truly all about. You know, our opponents have bannered about different figures, millions and millions of dollars it costs the city. Now we're going on the record this evening with the real facts, the true facts, and what this lawsuit was all about. So, Tony, if you want to carry it from there.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to bring everybody back to what the situation was going back to 1996, right around this time, as a matter of fact. Actually, it was, I think, sometime in late June when we had to suspend bulk trash pickup in the city of Niagara Falls. I think many of you can remember the piles of bulk trash that had been building up as a result of our city being unable to pick up the bulk trash on that weekly schedule that we had at that particular point in time. And this had been a problem that didn't really start in 1996, but it was even there back in 1995. Bulk trash was not being picked up on a timely fashion. In addition, you all remember the fact that the city at that particular point in time was struggling to try to get its financial house in order. The 1996 budget had a $5.8 million structural deficit in it. The mayor, in March of 1996, reopened the budget, the first time in the history of the city under the new charter, to try to make some cost-saving reductions in order to bring the budget in line. One of the other issues at the time that the city was obligated to be responsible for was curbside recycling. That particular point in time, the city did not have any type of a program for a citywide curbside recycling. Niagara Falls was one of a few localities in Niagara County that still had not had curbside recycling. All of these factors, coupled with the situation as it pertained to our dumping fees, with at that particular point in time in 1996, our sanitation contract was expiring. So this led us to begin to look at the prospects of privatizing sanitation. And the mayor, as you can recall, proposed that in the 1997 budget. The proposal was eliminated from the mayor's budget by a 4-3 vote. The mayor vetoed it, and there were not sufficient enough votes to override the veto. So beginning in 1997, Modern Disposal began picking up garbage here in the city of Niagara Falls and also providing curbside recycling citywide, first time in the history of the city. As the mayor pointed out, the union filed a suit against the city. The city, we argued in front of the Public Employee Relations Board, as did the union, and at PERB, which it is called, they ruled in favor of the union, and at which point the city appealed this decision, and we're basically now in a position where we can further appeal this decision. And the reason why this is of utmost importance is I think all of you would have to agree that privatization of sanitation has worked from simply a service standpoint. I think all of you can see that the city is much cleaner. The bulk trash pileups that were here back in '96 and '95 are no longer present. Curbside recycling has been accepted by our residents, both young and old alike. So it has been a very, very positive step for the city in, again, trying to rebuild it and making it an attractive place to live. So that's why we feel it's very, very important that we continue to try to preserve the privatization of sanitation. We have elected to try to negotiate with the union some type of a settlement before having to take the appeal any further. We still have time to where we can appeal this to a higher court. The time limit has not expired yet. We would rather, though, try to negotiate a settlement. If we accepted exactly what PERB has ruled,
of the Niagara frontier. In this edition of Niagara News TV, we'll try to figure out who won the mayoral debate. Is Irene Elia too far to the right? Is Irene Elia too far out?
With high ethical and moral values, so help me God.
Can Barbara Girasitano survive in a battle of big spenders with frequent references to God?
God didn't make us in isolation. He said, I'm going to give you each a talent. And you don't have all that talent. You're going to have to work with one another to bring it all together.
Some voters wonder if a former nun can